I've always wanted to restore a vintage vehicle, but I've never really had the opportunity. But today, that changes. I'm gonna go hitch up the trailer, hit the road, and we're gonna be bringing back a 51 flat fender Willys.
My wife's uncle is the kind of guy that is into a little bit of everything and has a basement shop filled with some of the coolest machinery you've ever seen. So it shouldn't be a surprise to hear that whenever we visit, there's at least a little bit of time spent talking about new projects, tools, or the most common conversation, which involves me picking his brain and getting advice. About 10 years ago, while visiting Uncle Clark, I noticed a new addition in his shop. It had 4 wheels, 4 cylinders, and a great deal of potential, but needed more than just a fresh coat of wax before it'd be roadworthy again. Fast forward to today, and he's decided to sell the old Jeep, and yours truly is going to be busting his knuckles with all the excitement of a kid on Christmas morning. Now, in my haste to hitch up the trailer and hit the road, I failed to make sure the winch battery was charged. Thankfully, Clark had a battery charger. So while the winch charged, we chewed the fat and gathered up all the miscellaneous parts that had already been stripped from the vehicle. I've always been a tinkerer, even as a kid. And long before I was restoring vintage tools like this old Tanowitz table saw and woodworking full time, I was tearing apart my toys to see how they worked. And I even got caught on one occasion taking apart my Nintendo duck hunt gun to, as my father retells the story, make it shoot faster. I'm not sure if my efforts paid off in a higher score, but I remember understanding that I was to put the gun back together and it had better work. Back home from my trip, I was very thankful to have Gravity on my side, along with my daughter, whose excitement to help unload the Jeep was almost on par with my own. There was so little power left in the winch battery that I ended up having to push and pull the Jeep off the trailer so that I could get it unloaded before a rainstorm rolled in that evening. Now, aside from the obvious excitement I have to work on this cool project, I think I'm most looking forward to spending the time with my daughter as we chip away at the restoration. Other than this vehicle being over 70 years old, the main thing that prompted Clark to start the restoration on this was the steering.
I'm driving the old Willys Jeep.
I don't know if the steering is just sloppy or if it's all but locked up, but he had told me that at some point in the past, a previous owner had installed some flexible exhaust pipe, and the excess heat from that caused the grease in the steering gearbox to all but solidify. There's more than just the steering that needs to get fixed to bring this piece of history back to life. As you can probably guess, I'm not going to be getting replacement parts for this Jeep from the local auto store. So where do you go when you need to get parts for a 1951 M38? Well, Kaiser Willys has everything I need to get this Jeep back up and running. And if you've got an old Jeep that you're working on too, you can use my code WSM10 at checkout to take 10% off of everything except for body tubs, tub kits, and tires.
If you were taking on this restoration project, what would you tackle first? Would you just get the steering fixed so that you could take it out and have a little bit of fun? Would you finish converting the electrical over to 12 volt? Or would you go all in, do a full tear down, and fix it up right? Let me know in the comments below, and in the meantime, I'm gonna get to work.